All right, it's time for our Kegel exercises, Twila.
Yes, it is.
And so why do we do our Kegels? Well, it's important for our pelvic health for both men and women. It helps, these exercises help support our pelvic organs in women, the bladder, the vagina, the rectum, the urethra. And for some people, it can actually improve sexual functioning. Some people say it makes orgasms more intense and more frequent.
Well, I think that's a good enough reason to do them right
Nobody's going to
there.
argue with that, I don't think. So let's go ahead and do it.
Okay. 3
Times a day.
6
Days a week.
9
Seconds per Kegel.
and 12.
Kegels in a row to make a rep. It's so easy. Just do 12 of these 3 times a day. When you're doing them, hold it for 9 seconds. You will be the envy of your neighborhood. You will have a pelvic floor like a chain link fence, so you will be able to pull a trailer.
If you so choose. And don't forget, you can always go to the GynoCast Facebook page and get an infographic, which kind of details out the customizable plan. You can print it out, put it on your fridge. You can put it up in your office. We can share it with your friends. And it's a great resource to have. So
Indeed.
Make sure that you go and do your exercises today.
Yes.
Stay tuned.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the GynoCast. My name is Dr. Eric Heegaard. I'm a board-certified obstetrician gynecologist. And I'm sitting here with Twila Dang, who I will not let speak.
Hello.
Because I just when Twila and I used to go live, when we were live radio, although we are live now.
We are. We're live today.
Live
it's okay.
and alive. When we were on live radio, Twila would you would do the intros.
Yeah, I did.
And so I feel there's something kind of empowering about, I just feel like I'm just kind of...
See, this is what makes me a good producer, because I empower you to be your best self.
I feel like a butterfly emerging from my chrysalis.
Aw, I can take credit for that. I'm okay with that.
I like that. So if you're a new listener, welcome aboard. Thank you
Indeed.
for joining us. It means a lot to us that you would take time out of your life to listen to this show. We think we talk about important things. If you're a return listener, we adore you. And we appreciate you.
Well done.
And we hope that recurrent listeners and new listeners will join our little community of I don't know, what should we call our little community of GynoCast Facebook members?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
And so
I'm sorry. Did you think we were supposed to be like the Bayhive or something? We're supposed to have like a
I don't know.
like we're supposed to have like a name for our people.
I don't know. The GynoCast.
We're not cool enough for that. No, don't do it. We're not cool enough. We're not cool enough. especially this morning. I just heard with the fan, like
the
GynoCast
of millions.
No, that won't work. No, like Beyonce's daughter, Blue Ivy. She has her own fan base now.
Oh my Lord!
I know, and they call themselves the Ivy League. I love it.
That's kind of
love
cute.
it.
Okay, I will
love
agree
it.
with that.
See, we can't do anything that cool.
So for those of you who don't know what the GynoCast is, Twila, you've got this spiel. I think it's just fabulous.
Okay,
what do we do here?
We talk about anything and everything women's emotional and physical health and well-being.
Yes, we do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And we do it well.
Exactly. We think that we like to think that we talk about things that are important.
That's true.
And things that oftentimes people want to know about but don't know where to go. And so, things that sometimes you may not want to talk to your mom about. And
I think that's
your
really going to
grandmother.
turn out to be the best phrase for these
your
types of
dad,
discussions.
maybe.
Are you comfortable talking to your mom about it? Not necessarily. So you can come here. You can talk to us.
Exactly. And so what we say is don't Google GynoCast.
No, we don't say that. He says that. And I
it.
desperately try to get him to not say
We
it.
say it. You shall not oppress me. I will speak my voice, Twila.
Okay. I will let you. I'm
So
a
these
good
are-
producer.
So these are the these are the topics that, as you're milling about with your boss at the office party, for example, and you're sitting there with, your gin and tonic that the way I like to make a gin and tonic.
No, you're not telling me how you make a gin and tonic. You just tell me you have one and why it's important that you seem to have this drink
But
right now.
because I want people to get a few things out of every GynoCast, right?
But let's I don't want them to get. Listen,
I make a damn good gin and tonic.
Okay, but
at the end of the show, I'll tell you what the recipe
Didn't you
is.
just recently say that you're concerned that it feels like all we do is talk about alcohol in these programs?
I think I did. Say that.
You did say that, so I'm just holding you to what you said.
I think it's just because I'm a little thirsty.
I'm
It's
sorry.
hot out.
Are you parched?
I'm a little parched.
Dry.
So today we are going to talk about an important topic, in my mind, a very important topic, and it should be to anybody who cares about the world.
Okay.
Which is maternal mortality.
Yes, indeed. So this is actually like a serious topic.
Yeah,
this sounds like we're backdooring into something silly, but we really aren't today.
And this is something that is interesting to me because, well, we all care about we all have mothers, right?
Yes, we do.
Everybody on this planet has a mother.
Yes, we do.
And many of us have sisters and partners and people we care about who are women, and women who are may get pregnant and go through that process.
Mm-hmm.
And pregnancy has always been sort of a dangerous state. Believe it or not, despite what some people say, pregnancy is a state that is very stressful and taxing on a woman's body. Both the process of being pregnant and delivering a baby and the time thereafter. And these rates and so we pay attention to mortality and whether women get sick, whether women die. And historically, it has been, if you walk through graveyards, are you a graveyard walker, Twila?
Not now. I used to walk past one every day when I was a kid on the way to school.
But you didn't go in it.
Yeah, sure we went in it.
Did you?
Little kids. Don't know any better.
Okay, well that's interesting because if for people who don't or haven't, who are just kind of find it a little creepy,
regular, yeah,
go into an old graveyard sometime and look at the number of women and children from the 1800s and the early 1900s that died young.
Yeah,
and it was not a minimal thing. And so we keep track of this because we care. As a civilized world, we care. In the world today, the rates of maternal mortality are quite varied. The worst happens to be in sub-Saharan Africa.
Okay.
In countries like Sierra Leone has over 500 women die per every 100,000.
Oh, wow.
And that's that is among the highest, and probably is a good way of kind of reflecting on what it used to be,
right.
A couple hundred years ago, because this is what it used to be like. 500 women would die for every 100,000. In Sweden or Scandinavia, we're talking about 3 women. 3. They should feel proud of that.
Sweden is aren't they like the gold standard for taking care of women, mothers and pregnant women and families, right?
Well, I think
the Sweden, Norway, that those areas, they've got
Well, it's certain, yes, and I think it's something that we really need to think about because, as most of us know, in what is going on politically right now, as we're trying to fix this system, we have the most expensive healthcare system in the world.
Mm-hmm.
We also have some of the best healthcare if you've got access to it. Without a doubt.
Yes.
But if you look at metrics related to the general population, it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
It is embarrassing.
In terms of who has access to
exactly.
it. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So maternal mortality and death rates have been falling for years, except in the United States. And so just to give you an idea, as I said, the maternal mortality rate is in Sierra Leone over 500 women per 100. 500 women die per 100,000 live births. In Canada, it is 7 women die for every 100,000 live births. In the United Kingdom, it's 9. And in Finland, I misstated that, but I'm sure Sweden is not far behind. It is about 4. And so probably if we were to say that we want to find a goal to get to, which would be to get to 4.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
And we can't prevent everything, but that's probably as a goal. What do you think the United States is?
Now I'm worried because I feel like we're way high.
Okay, so let me just state that again. Finland, 4 women die for every 100,000 live births. In Canada, it is 7. United Kingdom is 9. In the United States, it is.
I hope we're not in are we in the 30, 40 range?
27 deaths per 100,000 live births. 3 times higher than the United Kingdom's, 3.5 times higher than Canada.
And Canada's right next door to us, you guys.
Yeah, exactly. The maternal mortality ratio, that rate has doubled since 1990. Doubled.
That's so scary.
It's been estimated that about 700 to 900 women die every year.
And since 1990, so that's really and truly in sort of the midst of my reproductive years.
In the United States, every year, 700 to 900 women die from causes related to pregnancy and childbirth.
Oh.
So this is, again, something that I think is very poignant. Texas has a maternal death rate that is the highest of any developed country. It rates in between what are those two? Now I'm blanking out the two countries that are in Africa. And it's just an embarrassment.
What,
it isn't.
You mean like Sierra Leone or other countries?
No, it's not that bad, thank God. But it's, okay. So I cannot find my data. Oh my
That's
goodness.
okay.
But the point being is that it is much
in the
higher.
United States,
in the United
it's
States,
much higher than it should be.
Yeah, and Texas is leading Texas and California actually are leading the way in this. And so, why do I bring this up? Well, from a societal standpoint, why is this happening? From a medical standpoint, why are only 3 or 4 people dying in Finland and 26 people are dying per 100,000 in the United States and 500 are dying in Sierra Leone?
Mm-hmm.
What is it? Well, people tend to be fairly the same genetically. So what's happening? Well, I think the obvious answer is access to medical care.
Right.
And access to prenatal care, access to good care during delivery and the postpartum era. Because when we're looking at maternal mortality rates, we're actually looking at women who die less than a year after they give birth as well.
Okay.
So it's not just,
So not just dying during the act of giving birth.
Right. So there's maternal death, which is considered a death either during pregnancy or within 42 days of delivery. I don't know where they came up with 42 days,
42?
but and then there's late maternal death, which is within a year of delivery. And so these are all bunched together in maternal mortality. But we know that as things are changing here, we're trying to fix this healthcare system, and there are people on all aspects of both sides of the aisle politically who are trying to do this, who are well-meaning. But we have all seen that there's I believe, an assault on funding and providing funding and care for women and children, and so we got to pay attention to this. This is important.
And if we've done a previous episode on this particular topic, well, it wasn't supposed to be about this topic, but
we
wound up really
Twila got us off.
I did. I take full responsibility. But if you're interested in a little bit more of our thoughts on sort of that particular part of the process and that the sort of difficulties we're facing in terms of dealing with the political side of this process, you can find that particular podcast on the website. Go to matriarchdm.com. That particular episode was about non-birth control uses for birth control, and it kind of got a little away from us. But that's okay.
Exactly.
Sometimes it happens.
So why do people die in pregnancy? Well, there are conditions that pregnancy puts you at increased risk for, specifically blood clots. This is, I want to go, I think people think there are people, and I've heard even a politician who is an obstetrician, who is a well-known national politician who is a board-certified obstetrician, or at least I think he's still board-certified. He was, who talks about pregnancy as though it's almost a state of that's equivalent to being non-pregnant, and that's not true. Mm-hmm. Pregnancy is a very stressful state on the body. When you are pregnant, your cardiac output goes up by 50%.
Well,
your heart beats 50% faster.
Well, here's the thing. I think we don't think on any level, and I think part of it is because we don't want to alarm anybody. We don't want to alarm women who are thinking about getting pregnant. We don't want to alarm women who are pregnant that your body is going through significant changes. That those changes are not just it's temporary and it'll happen. Nothing will happen as long as you do X, Y, and Z. That there's actual biological processes here that can be dangerous for you if you're not doing everything you need to do. And I will take full responsibility. I've been pregnant 3 times. My first pregnancy, I probably did all the dumb things that you shouldn't do. I even flew on a plane at over 8 months pregnant to another state to attend an event, and wound up with all of the edema and wound up, with some other issues that I hadn't even considered. I just thought, I'm already big. I'll just roly-poly myself to this place and roly-poly back. You're absolutely right when you say the body is really put under a lot of stress, and you really have to be thoughtful about what you decide to indulge in or put yourself through in the course of basically growing another human being, because you can wind up putting yourself and your baby at risk.
That's right. And so when you think about it, and this is just an interesting concept, because again, I'm trying to counter the idea that people think, well, pregnancy is just and it is a natural state, but it's also, so is cancer, and so are tornadoes.
Yeah.
And people, and as we were saying in the beginning of the show.
And not that we're comparing those. I don't want to get those emails that are like, you did not compare my pregnancy to a tornado.
Well, yeah, right, exactly. And, but, so your cardiac output, your heart beats 50% more, faster, harder. You have 50% more blood in your body. So you've got this, you're just awash in fluid. So it's hard on your heart and your lungs. Women who are pregnant breathe faster and are more short of breath.
Yep.
You are also more likely to get blood clots. And so, especially in the postpartum, right after delivery. And so, the most common reason why women die are hemorrhage. You've got a lot of blood, and at the time of delivery, you can have a lot of bleeding. So anybody who's ever been in there, who's delivered themselves or watched a delivery or participated, know that there can be a lot of blood.
Yes.
And because of the increased blood volume and your heart's capacity to handle it, women, and because of the extra fluid you've got in your body, which is your body's way, I love this. This is so interesting. This just makes my heart kind of pitter-patter when I think about it. But it's your body's, our bodies, women's bodies, are designed to get prepared for a hemorrhage at the time of delivery.
Oh.
So what does it do? It increases blood volume by 50%. And there are other reasons for that too, but part of it is to prepare and also just volume. So it's almost like you've attached a bag or two of saline to your body.
Oh.
At the time of delivery, most women are swelling. They have swelling in their legs.
Yep.
They're swelling all over the place.
Yes.
It's like they've got extra fluid there in case, and oftentimes they need it. And so the most common reason why women die is they bleed, and they don't have, the capacity to stop the bleeding, or they're not in the facilities that are able to handle it. Thromboembolism, which means clots that go to the heart or the lungs, because women who are pregnant and after pregnancy and delivery have increased risk of throwing blood clots. Infection, hypertension, which can cause strokes and heart attacks, amniotic fluid embolism, which thankfully are very rare. Amniotic fluid is not good in our bloodstream.
Right.
The body does not like it. I've never seen an amniotic fluid embolism. I never want to, because basically what happens is there's all this blood connection between the uterus and the placenta and the baby, and amniotic fluid breaks into one of those connections, and a big blob of amniotic fluid, which has got a lot of junk in it,
Right.
Skin and baby's urine, and etc. There's a lot of junk in there. It gets in the blood, and it gets distributed around the body, and the body goes into a massive reaction to it.
Oh, wow.
And it's almost universally fatal.
Oh, wow.
And if you're in a great facility and they react quickly enough, it can people can survive, but it's not common.
Yeah, that's terrible.
As we know, there's a condition called preeclampsia, which we've talked about before, which is not an uncommon condition where women's blood pressure goes up. They end up spilling protein into their urine, and if it goes untreated and is severe enough, they can have a seizure. And in the United States, it's very rare for anybody to ever die from this, as well as if they're in a good facility. Because we recognize it early. We recognize it before it becomes eclampsia, which is when they actually have a seizure. We get it when it is pre-eclampsia, and we treat them, and we get them delivered, and they go on to live a long and healthy life.
Right, absolutely.
And so the point being is that access to prenatal care, because one of the things that I think people get sometimes kind of frustrated when they're pregnant. We have them come in every month initially, and every 2 weeks for a month and a half or 2 months, and then every week. And it's like, what are you doing? You just come in and say hi to me. You check my belly, and it takes time out of my day, and then I have to go. You're just taking time out. We're looking for certain things. Specifically, we're looking for preeclampsia. We're looking at blood pressure. We're looking if they're spilling urine or protein in their urine. We're looking at glucose to see if they might be getting diabetic. These are things we're looking every visit. And if you don't have access to prenatal care, most of the time you're fine. And obviously, if you look at maternal mortality rates, thankfully, even in the worst case scenario, the chance of dying is low, but it's still there.
Right.
And we're looking for specific things that we can intervene on and save. But if you don't have access to prenatal care, it's really dangerous. And that is what I'm concerned about. We are in the wealthiest country in the world, and we have embarrassingly high maternal mortality rates, and we've got to be cognizant of it. And our politicians need to realize that investing in women's care is important.
Yes, absolutely. I can't say it strongly enough.
Support for the GynoCast is provided by OBGYN West. OBGYN West provides the highest quality care from compassionate providers, including women's health issues from general sexual health to pregnancy care, childbirth, menopause, and beyond. Whether it's your teen's first annual exam, a new baby's on the way, or you're facing the special challenges of middle age, OBGYN West provides a wide array of services. Their doctors and PAs are trained in virtually every type of OBGYN service and procedure. OBGYN West provides exceptional care for women.
We need to take better care of our women and girls. We just do, period.
Why, Twila? Why do we care?
Well, I care because, for a really selfish reason, I'm a woman. But I also fully and truly believe that the best of what our world is going to be is what you say all the time, that, successful women and successful girls, breed successful families, breed successful societies. We're half the population, and you can't possibly have a civilized world where half the population are constantly at some form of risk.
Yeah, and you find the healthiest and most thriving populations in the world, cultures and countries in the world, and they're all countries that invest in women.
Absolutely.
And girls. They all invest in women and girls.
Absolutely.
So if you want to have a country that is a disaster, just ignore 50% of the population.
Right. And we see, and like I said, we can see what happens when basic services and necessary services are taken away or are eliminated or are cut back. We see when you see something like, I can be hard pressed to find anybody that wouldn't look at that statistic out of Texas and not go, what are we doing? What are we doing?
Yeah, exactly. And so, again, I don't know whether we need to talk about it much more than this, except I'm just stating the information so that people know about it, because we vote for politicians do what we ask them to do. They're predictable for the most part. They represent what we value. And what I'm asking us all to do is to value women and women who are pregnant and getting pregnant to, I think it is valuable to all of us that we have women get through pregnancy safely, and so their babies are healthy and they all become productive citizens. If you care about nothing else but that, we don't want people who are sick that we have to spend a ton of money on, who won't be contributing. We want people who are healthy, and
particularly for things that probably could have been prevented had they been given the care that they needed prior to.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Where we don't have to put the cart before the horse. We can take care of these people from the very beginning, and then the outcomes will be much different. That's
right. All right. So, do you have any other important comments that you want to make about this?
In particular, you know what? When I hear you talk about this and talk about the statistics, it just always takes me back to a phrase my mother's been saying to me since I was probably 6 years old, which is God looks out for babies and fools. And
is that right?
Yeah, and I say it all the time. And now putting sort of my own perspective and my own experience into the context of this conversation, there were quite a few times where, as a pregnant woman, I was pretty stupid, and I got really lucky that for whatever reason that particular day, X, Y, Z, and Z didn't happen. That I got really lucky that I'm lucky that I happen to be married to a health professional. So if something goes really sideways, I have somebody in the house who actually knows a lot of basic, not just first aid things, but basic surgical things. I'm exceedingly lucky that I was a Black woman who got pregnant in the 2000s in America, where I had access to really great health care, like the kind of health care that allows me to sit in a platform like this and say, fire your doctor if you're not satisfied with your service. Yeah. Or a lot of people don't have that luxury to do it. So it's sort of a constant, it's a good constant reminder today that I have a lot of privilege in a situation like this, and that it's not enough for me to sort of sit back and enjoy my privilege, that I should be doing something about making sure other people get that privilege too.
That's right. So just a few little tidbits before I go into my recipe for gin and tonics.
Okay.
So the actual mortality in the United States, maternal mortality rate in the United States in 1900
Okay.
Now, remember I said in Sierra Leone it's about 500 women die
Right.
for every 100,000 live births.
Right.
And in Finland we said it was 4.
4. Mm-hmm.
4. Now in the United States it's over 20%, an embarrassment. Well, in 1900 the rate was about 850
Wow.
women died. This was just a little over 100 years ago.
Wow.
Now, and for many of the same reasons why people die now, infections, hemorrhages, and that sort of thing.
Right.
One of the things just historically kind of interesting, and we've talked about the fact that many women and babies died because the baby couldn't be delivered. It was too big to come out, if it was in the wrong position. And we've talked about C-sections in the past. And C-sections, there's a lot of, there's some controversy about whether we're doing too many or not enough. I don't think there's two people that are thinking we're not doing too many. I should restate that. But
yeah.
We talked about the first C-section that at least people talk about. It was Julius Caesar, which is kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm. And we have a podcast. We did a previous episode specifically about cesarean section.
Exactly. It's just kind of fascinating in that it was Queen Victoria who actually had a C-section with anesthesia using chloroform. But an interesting bit of obstetrical trivia was that, it used to be imperative if the baby died inside or was stuck, if you could get the baby out, you might be able to save the life of the mother.
Right.
C-sections historically were really to save the life of the baby.
Mm-hmm.
And the mother would die, and they just try to cut out and get the baby out, which I think Julius Caesar's mother did not survive the delivery.
Has the thinking on that shifted? Has the approach to that shifted?
Oh yeah,
in an emergency situation.
Well, there thankfully. I'd knock my hand on the table here if it wouldn't make too much noise. I've never had to make that decision. A C-section. I've heard of rare situations where obstetricians have done C-sections like on the bed, literally in a room where the woman had died. Had a catastrophic and died, and they were doing it. They had to get the baby out within a minute or two to save the. Luckily, that is very rare, and the reason why we do C-sections today is to save both the mother and the baby.
Right, absolutely.
For a good outcome. Historically, a bit of interest trivia was that it used to be if a baby's head got stuck, everybody, the baby would obviously die and the mother would die.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in the historically hundreds of years ago, a family called the Chamberlains developed forceps. And the goal was not to save the baby's life. The goal was to pull the baby out so the mother would live. And they actually made an immense amount of money doing this. They kind of passed the forceps, at least this is the story. It's interesting trivia.
Yeah.
That they passed the technology down from, generation for generation. They controlled this, and they would bring the forceps in a bag. So nobody could see what they were doing.
Oh, okay.
So, if a woman was having, if the baby was dead and they needed to get the baby out, and you were lucky enough to perhaps be close to where the Chamberlains lived, you would pay them a bunch of money, and they would come with their little bag, and they would get everybody out of the room,
and then
they would pull the forceps out and get the baby out, and then everybody would think they were fabulous, assuming everything went well, and then these were passed on from probably father to son generation. So they controlled this technology, which is dreadful, thinking of how many people died because they did not share the technology.
Right.
But they thrived. They thrived. And so at least, again, this is the story. I don't know if this is true, but it's a story I've heard again and again, is that someone finally got wind of what they were doing, that they had this device. And finally they got enough pressure that they needed to share this, that they felt like they had to do something. And so they said, okay, we'll show you the technology. And they showed them one half of the forceps. So, forceps are like salad tongs, right? There's two of them that interconnect.
Exactly.
And so they apparently,
good luck with that.
They showed, okay, here it is. And they showed them one side of the forceps. And of course, it took supposedly more generations for people to actually figure out that there's supposed to be two sides of it. And so a little bit of obstetrical, sad but interesting trivia.
Ain't that interesting?
Thank God we aren't there anymore.
Oh, yeah. Amen.
Okay, gin and tonics. Now, for those of you who enjoy good gin and tonic,
this is not going to do anything at all to downplay the perception that we drink a lot.
Yeah. Well, sometimes, was it at the beginning of the show or another show where we were talking about it be interesting to do?
Yeah, that was you on another show. Yeah.
Well, it'd just be an interesting, as a purely scientific experiment.
Okay.
We could try it. Well,
I told you, I'm a lightweight.
Okay,
There's no drinking for me.
But so we could try to figure out some incredibly complex subject, and bring a pitcher of mojitos.
Okay, because women's gynecology and obstetrics is not complicated enough.
Okay, so this is my custom. I came up with this recipe, and so I want
okay, Bethany.
attribution.
Go, okay, Bethany.
All right.
Whatever you say, skinny guy. You skinny guy margarita.
Okay, so this is what I do. It's not.
He didn't get that joke. If
I
you're
got
at
Bethany.
home,
I know who's skinny. I know the skinny
Okay,
girl
let's say-
thing.
Okay, just checking.
What? But does she say things like that? Why did that remind you of Bethany?
Because that's what she said in the beginning when the
What?
show first started. She
What?
came up with the drink, and she was like, "This is my thing I came up with, and this is how I do it." And then, 2 years later, she had sold this idea that she came up with on the fly in a restaurant in front of a camera for a few $1 million, and now it's $1 billion company, and she's got rolling in the dough.
You mean I could patent this brilliant gin
You
and
can't
tonic?
You can't call it skinny guy because she'll sue you. You can call it something else. Sure.
Okay.
Sorry, but
Well,
we'll put a
I'm
pin
not,
in that for
we're
another
not
day.
worried. We're here to spread the word.
Yeah, go for
make
it.
for a healthier world.
Or at least a drunker one.
Okay. So this is all I did, but I'm gonna claim credit for it.
Okay, go for
Because
it.
I love gin and tonics when it's
Okay.
cold out. And just for people to know,
Sure.
I just want to say I probably have a drink once a week.
Okay.
All right, can I just
I
say that?
probably have one once a harvest season.
Oh dear Lord! And Twila, for those of you who don't know, is a vegan, and she just lords it over.
No, actually,
everybody.
even before that, I've never been a good drinker. I'm not a drinker.
Well, I'm not saying I'm not either. Actually,
I'm not
and
a
I
drinker.
am grateful for that because
I have
can-
some boozy friends now in my life that have exposed me to more alcohol, so I know how to be. I can comfortably order a cocktail if I would like to, but I almost never. I order one just to look like I'm holding something cute in the glass because 90% of the time it's still sitting there when everybody else is doing.
Yeah, so we embrace moderation
Yeah,
on the
absolutely.
GynoCast. We embrace moderation. So in whatever you do,
Cook with your
even-
alcohol. It's better in pasta anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So just make a regular gin and tonic. Just
Okay.
ice, gin.
Sure.
Reasonably good gin, not really super good gin because you don't want to waste it because you're diluting it with
Right.
a tonic, right?
Right.
And then you put the lime in there. You squeeze the lime.
Okay.
Now, my twist. Are you ready for this, everybody? You want to write this down?
Okay.
Is I used some lime zest. I take a fine grater, and I zest the lime.
That's your big addition.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and it just adds that
Feels
little
life-changing.
spark.
I'm
If it just-
changed.
Oh,
I'm
God, what
changed.
Okay, so but it just adds that little thing. You heard it here, but sometimes the little things count, Twila.
It does.
Now, we're talking about moderation, right?
Yes.
Moderation is so important. So this is the thing about martinis. Ready?
Why? Okay. How do we want to have martinis?
Because you brought it up. But
I
I'm just
did
talking.
not.
I'm
Okay.
talking about the importance of moderation.
Okay, this is the last one I'm going to have today.
And then we're going to end the show.
Yeah, we
Because
are.
but we've talked about the history of maternal mortality. And now we're lightening it up
and
just a
now
little bit.
we need a drink.
But it is so important to remember this. And I think it may have been Mae West or one of these old-time Hollywood actresses,
Sure.
right? She said, I only have one martini or two at the most. After 3, I'm under the table. After 4, I'm under the host. Thank you for listening to the GynoCast. Tune in again, and we appreciate so much.
Wait,
Yeah.
don't forget to go to the Facebook page. Hot diggity dog.
Oh, okay, we got. Okay, let's promote the guy.
Go to the Facebook page.
Tell me that's not funny.
That was actually really funny.
It's really funny.
I'm gonna put that in the syllabus. That was actually really great.
Yeah.
Go to the Facebook
Not appropriate.
page. Look for the GynoCast. Type it in the search bar. And if you haven't liked the page already, like the page. You can send us a message because I know somebody's gonna send us a message about that quote. So hit the send message bar. You can send your questions directly to us. It'll give you a little anonymity if you would like to ask an anonymous question, if you just want to comment on the show. And then once you're a part of the page, you can interact with all of the discussions. You can pose questions. You can pose topics for future episodes of the GynoCast, and you can interact with a really great, lively, respectful community. It's something that we're really proud of here, and it's a really, really wonderful part of the experience of making the GynoCast is getting to interact with everybody on that page and the community that is rapidly growing. So thank you for participating, and if you haven't, join us. You'll enjoy it.
See you soon.